I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding a road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now. So I need that go, y'all. Got hits when he throwing the fastball.
What's going on, guys? Austin from Austin's Trading Group, and just want to do a technical lesson today. So what we're going to be talking about today is trend lines. So trend lines are a very, very useful tool, but I would never recommend relying on them, but they're a great confluence to use. Now, confluence is going to be a word that you guys hear me use a lot, and basically confluence is just another word for reason. So essentially what you want to have is a stack of confluences or reasons that your trade is going to work in your favor. So you can use a trend line as one of these confluences, but I would never make decisions just off of a trend line alone. I would always like to pair that with something else, like a key level or a Fibonacci level, and we'll talk about those in other videos. But today we're just going to talk about trend lines. So how you would draw trend lines is something like this. So you need to have a trending market, and then what you would do is, let's give this a little area too. So you would want to have the lows in an upward market, and you would connect lows from there. And this is going to be a drawing, so it's not going to be perfect. We'll go to the screen and we'll find you a perfect real market example. But just for the video, we're just going to give you an illustration. So basically, you use a trend line to connect your lows in an uptrend, or you use them to connect your highs in a downtrend. Now, a downtrend example would look something like this. Let's just say the market decides to reverse from here, goes down. Now your trend line would look something like this. This one might have a curve in it because it's drawn by my hand. But when we go to the market, we'll give you that perfect example. But with the downtrend, you're connecting your highs. So we'll just write right here, in uptrend, connect lows, in downtrend, connect highs. So write this down in your notebook, guys. If you guys don't have a notebook out, get one out. We're just going to keep these videos short and sweet, filled with nothing but valuable information, and we're going to leave all the fluff and all the nonsense out because we don't have time for that. So yeah, trend lines, very simple tool. What you're going to always look for in your uptrend is connecting your lows, 1, 2, 3, and in your downtrend, you're going to be connecting your highs, 1, 2, 3. Now, you also might say, well, what about connecting your highs in an uptrend? If we were to do that, we would get something that looks like this. Again, this isn't perfect because I'm drawing it, but now we have something called a channel. Trend lines plus channels. It's 2 in 1 today. So, trend lines and channels. Okay, so in your channel, you would be connecting the highs in an uptrend after you've established your trend line, and then in a downtrend, you would be connecting your lows after you've established the trend line connecting the highs. Now, how you would use a channel is a little bit interesting than how you would just use a standard trend line. In an uptrend, a standard trend line is going to act as support. So let's write that down as well. Green acts as support, and then in a downtrend, resistance. So as you can see here, just cap off this marker. Here's our trend line. And you can see how that's acting as support. When price comes down, the trend line is supporting price and it lifts off. See here, it comes down and it lifts off. Again, this is an illustration, but I will be backing this up with real market examples. I just want to draw it out for you guys first and explain it a little bit better. And if we look at our downtrend example, you can see whenever price approaches the trend line from the highs that we connected, it acts as resistance and comes down. Now in a channel, you're going to have both support and resistance. So if your bottom trend line is acting as support and the top trend line is acting as resistance, you can make trading decisions off of that. You can be buying the support and selling the resistance. That's how it would work. Same thing over here. Price comes down. I don't know what kind of arrow that is, shitty arrow, but whatever. You get the point. Acts as support. So now you can be making decisions based just off of trend lines and channels. Now, an easy way to draw a channel, we'll do this once we get over to the charting software, is after you draw your trend line, you just clone it and drag it, and you'll notice that it will typically fit almost perfectly with price action. So I would say this is pretty much it for the whiteboard example. Make sure you guys write down these 4 important facts: that in an uptrend, a trend line is going to act as support. In a downtrend, a trend line is going to act as resistance if you're connecting your highs and if you're connecting your lows. And in an uptrend, you want to be connecting your lows, and in a downtrend, you want to be connecting your highs. So now that we've covered everything on the whiteboard, let's go over to the computer and take a look at what this looks like on the screens. What's up guys, Austin from ATG back on the screen with the trend line example. So we are going to just look at this chart here. This is the S&P futures chart on the 4-hour time frame. I'm just going to zoom out a bit, and I'm using TradingView for this video, guys. You can use whatever you want for charting software. TradingView is free. I use a paid version. This particular video is just filmed on the free version, but personally I use the paid on my setup. So what I use to draw my trend lines is the ray tool, and I also turn on the magnet. The magnet makes it so when you click, it snaps to like the lowest point or the highest point of the candle. So it gives you very exact points to plot your anchor points. So we have our ray tool selected with the magnet mode on, and now we're just going to start connecting those lows since we're in an uptrend. And then we can see we have a valid trend line established here. Point 1, point 2, and point 2 was tested multiple times. You can see here this level was played like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then came very close those 2 times in the future. But what we can do from here is we could actually clone this trend line, and now we have a channel if we drag it. So remember how we were talking about channels are basically support and resistance range bound scenarios. So you could take buy setups off of the support points of the channel, sell setups off the resistance point of the channel, and actually get some pretty good trading opportunities. Now, I don't trade like that anymore. I used to, but this element of price action is super valid and definitely shouldn't be ignored. So what I'm going to show you guys now is like essentially a zone around the channel of each point. So I grabbed the rotated rectangle tool, and I'm just going to trace this trend line with it and then kind of stretch it out. And now you can see that we have a nice zone around the support part of this channel. I'm going to clone that, drag it on top, change the color of it to red just to give you guys a better example of what we're looking at here. And now you can see what I mean about the resistance and support points of the channel. So channels are super simple and very straightforward, and they're very repetitive. So make sure that whenever you are spotting something like this, that you are testing the resistance side of it and the support side of it. You don't even have to put on risk. Just see if it's valid, see if price action's playing off of it, and then go from there. But yeah, so that's a really good example of a nice trend line and then how we turn that into a channel. Now we can look even deeper here and see this area had point of resistance and then came down accordingly to this trend line here. So this is another example of a valid trend line, this time going to the downside. So since it's going to the downside, we are connecting highs. So remember, whenever it's in an uptrend, we're going to be connecting lows, and whenever we're in a downtrend, we're going to be connecting highs. So this is a really, really good example. You can see here, if we try to clone this and drag it like we did the first trend line, we don't really get that valid channel example. I mean, you could kind of try to imagine it's there, but I don't like to do that kind of stuff when I'm trading and putting on risk. I don't like to just guess around with lines that I drew on a chart. It's not very intelligent. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but I would definitely recommend illustrating these elements on your chart, coming up with a hypothesis about those elements, and then going from there and just having another tool in your trading arsenal. So I hope this video gave you guys some clarity and provided value. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Send it through clearly. I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding the road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now. So I need that go, y'all. Got hits when he throwing the fastball.